Happy Monday! Oh my goodness, this is week number 4, you guys. This is kind of crazy. We've gotten into a habit of meeting, except thank you for your kindness, your patience, your grace. This was a little bit of a different Monday for just one reason. Well, two actually. I'll go to 1 and 1A because I was working this morning on Sirius XM NFL radio, and it's a great opportunity. I really enjoy working on the NFL channel for a lot of reasons, but usually because I end up crossing paths with a former coach, player, general manager. This morning it was Rand Carthon, who both played and also worked in a front office with the Tennessee Titans as recently as 2024. But just a good chance for me to use my radio skills and also to talk about the NFL, which is driving the bus right now. And so thank you for understanding that sometimes I got some conflicts, but really the 1B reason that this is an atypical Monday is because my boss, Corey, Rogue Media Network, said, okay, just spread the word. But as long as you're doing your 2 hours, if you want to push it back an hour, it won't be a regular thing because I want you all to get in the habit of hanging out with us here. But thank you for waiting patiently. I hope that you had a great weekend, and that includes producer Zach. I know my husband and I were on the road, so we were gone to Oklahoma, which you drive a Texas license plate into Oklahoma and you get some funny looks and people treat you differently. Maybe they wave with just the one finger, that salute, not that finger. And so we were gone to see some friends in Oklahoma. It was a nice weekend. Thank goodness our friends have a pool because we saw temps hit 109 as we were driving north on Friday and then coming back yesterday afternoon, 7:15. And I tweeted this, so it's out there on my Twitter account. 109 degrees. That's not real feels. That's 109 degrees at 7:15. 7:15 in Fort Worth, Texas, PM, by the way. And so it was a hot weekend, but we did enjoy the time with our friends. And I got a chance to go back to a place in Woodward, Oklahoma that was very instrumental in the beginning of my career. So this is crazy, believe it or not. I'll have to throw a photo up on social later on, but I worked as the news and sports director for a station called K101 in Woodward, Oklahoma. And I moved to the Sooner State nearly sight unseen in my mid-20s. So this was in 1999. And then I stayed there for a couple of years before I moved to Oklahoma City, where I got into full-time sports. But it was a station with a 100,000 watt signal, which meant it reached all the way to Oklahoma City, as flat as the terrain is there in Oklahoma, Kansas. It reached the Texas Panhandle, all of Southwest Kansas. And so it was an opportunity for me to reach a larger audience, to be in a position of leadership as news and sports director. I did play-by-play for pretty much every sport under the sun: high school football, American Legion baseball, tons of high school basketball. And so it was really neat. Now, this was pre-Thunder, so the Thunder weren't yet in Oklahoma City, but it was such a special 4 years in my career. The people of Oklahoma are amazing, but also moving to Oklahoma City, which was my first top 50 market, and making the jump to full-time sports, covering Big 12 college football at the time. The Oklahoma Sooners won a national championship in 2000 with Bob Stoops, and I got a chance to cover that team and the rivalry that is Bedlam. And so I got a lot of great experiences there. And it was neat to be able to go back and show my husband, and also to see some friends, people that I went to church with that I literally have not seen in 25 years. So that was our weekend. But while we were on the road yesterday, I was paying attention to football. So I asked my husband, do you mind? I got to listen to some preseason action, and was listening to a bunch of different NFL talk shows, but also doing my own research and prep. And of course, what I found out is that the Cleveland Browns were ready to make their quarterback decision. They announced it. Well, actually, It hasn't been officially announced, but the media, we're such terrible people. Welcome to the dark side. The media and the insiders that cover the Browns did break this news about 2 hours ago. So, roughly 10 a.m. Central, 11, was it 10 a.m.? No, it was 10 a.m. Eastern, 10 a.m. Cleveland time, 9 a.m. my time. And they did break the news that it will be Deshaun Watson who starts as the QB1 when they break camp and they get out there for their very first game. It will be Deshaun Watson. And I've got all kinds of issues with this decision. I don't think it's the right move for Todd Monken and the Cleveland Browns, but there are so many layers to this onion. I mean, it would take us our entire 2 hours here on All In to really peel back all the layers of this onion. And yes, it will probably make a lot of Browns fans cry. I will do my best to be succinct about it. But the fact is, there's history here. Not only history with the Browns at their quarterback position, but there's history with the Browns when it comes to Deshaun Watson and why it doesn't feel like the right decision, whether it's on the field, whether it's off the field. A lot of fans have a problem with this decision. So we are waiting to hear from the head coach, Todd Monken. To my understanding, he is supposed to speak at some point in the next few minutes, which means we would be able to share his thoughts and his reasons here on this edition of All In with Amy Lawrence. So once again, thank you for being patient. Of course, we've got our live stream with the comments that are already coming in. We love to hear from those of you who faithfully follow the show when it's live. But I got to tell you, we had a ton of traffic on the YouTube channel over the weekend. It's neat that people are still finding us for the first time. I'm still answering the question of, where can I find you now? Where can I listen to you now? Or where can I listen overnight? And so I'm still spreading the word, which is awesome. That was really the entire goal of this first month, is to spread the word. Well, and to work out the kinks as well, because I know we've had some technical kinks, but I feel like Zach and I are settling into a pretty nice rhythm. I can't tell you I'm completely comfortable with the camera. I still have questions. In fact, still, I think, stress a little bit too much about what it looks like around me. And to that end, I actually am in a spare bedroom at mom's house of a super secret location here after doing my Sirius XM radio show. So this is one of mom's spare bedrooms. Okay, so the light is above me, which is why the light looks different. There's a window behind me, but I had to have the light on because the window would make me backlit. I might look like a vampire in the daytime, which is really not what you want. So we've got the window behind me. There's the curtain. Over here, actually, this is very important to my mom and I. It's some furniture that came from her house when she was growing up. It belonged to my grandparents, and she's got a couple of little knickknacks there on top. Both my mom and I are big fans of stuffed animals, and so we each have stuffed animals strategically placed around a house. Here's a spare bed. So this is a room where visitors come and stay. Namely, when my mom first moved to the Houston area, it was my nieces. So there are spare beds on either side of me, and there's a stuffed, I think it's a cat. Wait, hold on. I'll turn around and look. Shoot. I think it's a cat. A domestic cat, I think. Either way, it's squishy and it's lovable. And so that's where I am. And I know the lighting's different, but you know what? Change is good, as I've evidenced this month by jumping into something that's all new for me. And I hope that you're okay with it. But even if you're not, live a little. Try something new on for size. We're just glad to have you with us here, and so grateful that so many of you have chosen to spend part of your weekdays with us, part of your middays with us. And we're going to continue, of course, to build up toward football season. Do you know 3 more Sundays until we are consumed by NFL games on our Sunday afternoons and evenings, but also 16 days until the very first game. So we're there. You guys, we are there. It's getting to the point now where the NFL it's down to the nitty gritty when it comes to roster cut downs, and those will happen very soon. It also is about the depth of your team and trying to see what you can in this final run of preseason games. It's definitely about making decisions when it comes to quarterback battles. And that's where we find ourselves with the Cleveland Browns. And so hope springs eternal right now for a lot of teams, just maybe not Cleveland. And that was put on blast this weekend, and it really resonated throughout the NFL. And it's been a big story the last couple of days that when Deshaun Watson stepped on the field at the Browns on their field, right at their stadium, he steps on the field and he's going to take snaps. And this competition ongoing with Shedeur Sanders, it's an opportunity for him to put his best foot forward. Last audition before Todd Monken and his staff will make a decision about their starting QB. And so he goes out there and he instantly hears the booing from the crowd there in Cleveland. And as much as I believe it's a complicated and convoluted issue, I don't think it's as cut and dried as they don't like Deshaun. When you are a quarterback, a starting quarterback who's vying for the job, and you get booed by the home fans, I can imagine it's demoralizing. Now, initially, Deshaun seemed like he was going to let it roll off his back like a duck. He was going to take the high road and not say anything. But as he stood there in front of the microphone, he actually did respond to the fans who booed him in his own stadium.
Man, I didn't have no reaction. I think the biggest thing is, I think you guys know too, and I think the whole world knows, it has nothing to do about the performance. It's a little bit personal than that. So I think that's it's a disrespectful thing. So, yeah, I mean, I'm going to keep whatever I feel with me and my family internally on how I feel about that. And, yeah, just move on.
But don't you think, Deshaun, that winning and playing better would eliminate some of that booing?
Last time I played on this field, I tore my Achilles. And that same fan base, they cheered when I got hurt. So does that have to do with – what does that have to do with anything about performance? When a person get hurt, especially for your own city, and they cheer.
Does any of that make you regret coming here?
No, I don't regret anything in my life. You know, I think the Lord put me through situations for a reason, so I don't regret anything at all. But, you know, I had different thoughts on how it was going to be, but, you know, it is what it is. You know, sometimes, you know, the tables turn, and I'm patient enough because I'm a child of God to, you know, wait for that time to change. So I'm not tripping on it.
Initially, he says he is not going to have a reaction, but then talks about how it's disrespectful. And as there are follow-up questions, he reminds people that the Browns fans booed him when he tore his Achilles. Now, I will just say as a caveat that when he tore his Achilles, the Browns were not performing well at the quarterback position or offensively. And I do not agree. I do not agree with booing an athlete in his most vulnerable and painful moments. I think as human beings, we should understand whether you like the dude or you don't like the dude, whether you never want to see him on the field again or he's your favorite player. To boo when someone suffers an injury that is going to take away their livelihood, but also is going to put them in extreme pain and cost them months and a lot of money. Now, we can't really identify with the money part, but it is his job. He is a quarterback in the NFL. The Browns are the ones that gave him the $230 million guaranteed contract. So they're trying to get some of their money back. So I don't agree with booing a guy who is going through something painful. To me, that is disrespectful. Now, does it have to do with performance? I think it does. It's not just about what he's been through personally on the field and the situations he created for himself. I I'm actually glad that I was not on camera when we were watching Deshaun Watson there over the weekend respond to the situation with the fans, because it's cringy. I grimace. I'm stunned that he can be that tone deaf. Now, do I think he needs to go out there at every single press conference and continue to apologize for the decisions and the choices and potentially the criminal activity that he committed in the past? His past is well documented. It's the reason why the Houston Texans traded him to Cleveland. It's the reason why there was so much pushback when the Browns signed him to the fully guaranteed contract 5 years ago. It's one of the reasons why fans have never been on board with Deshaun Watson. Is it the only reason? No. His football performance has been abysmal, to say the least, but it's kind of crazy that he believes that we should forget or ignore the personal when that's a very real element with his quarterback history and now his NFL experience. And if you don't remember, he was accused by nearly 24 women of nefarious conduct, in some cases, sexual harassment, even what would constitute sexual assault under the law, with different women that he hired as massage therapists. And there was a parade of women who came forward to say that he treated me poorly. I was embarrassed. This is not what I signed up for. He took liberties physically and he touched me in ways that he should not have. Those are not women who just disappear because you spend a couple more years rehabbing 2 Achilles injuries. That's not how life works, nor should it. So I'm a little bit taken aback that he would say, I have no regrets. Either don't talk about your regrets at all, or say, of course I have regrets. I wish I could change some of my actions in the past. I understand why Cleveland fans may not still want me to be on their roster. I can't change the past, but what I can do is move forward into the future. But the insensitivity of pretending like you did nothing wrong when you settled all of those lawsuits because you didn't want them to go into court or to move forward. That to me is so tone deaf and also ignorant of the pain that he caused. And whether or not he's ever publicly admitted it, the fact is he's never really apologized, but he did settle those lawsuits to make them go away. And acting like you have no regrets is ignorant. But again, I don't think this is just about Deshaun Watson's past. I honestly believe, and this may speak to the nature of competitive, illogical, irrational sports fans. Knowing what I know about the Cleveland Browns and their fan base, understanding the lifeblood that it is for Northeast Ohio and the losing for decades, not just the losing, but the dejection with their team, and feeling like year after year after year, hopes are dashed on the rocks or shattered like glass. I can understand why you don't want to see a retread in Deshaun Watson as your starting quarterback. And even though we have to take a break here, we've got a guest coming up. We're going to pivot a little bit. I will get back to this because in the case of Deshaun Watson, even if we take the personal out of it, and by all accounts, the personal is not part of this decision. Head coach Todd Monken has indicated that he didn't take into account the fans booing or Deshaun's response to the fans, that this is a football decision to start Deshaun. But even if you take the personal out of it, which many fans are not willing to do, there's still the football aspect of it. And the fact that he's been off the field again for nearly 2 years. He's coming off yet another series of major injuries. He's missed so much time since he signed that contract with the Browns. I'm not even sure he can be a viable starting quarterback anymore once it's games that count. So I'd love to hear from you. You can find me on our social media at A-Law Radio is my Twix account. Also on Facebook. Lots of posts where you can respond. And then if you want to weigh in on both Insta and TikTok or our live chat that's taking place here for the next couple hours. But straight ahead, he is now a colleague of mine. He's a longtime host for 365 Sports and Rogue Media Network. And I can't wait to ask Tom Barfield about this new wrinkle when it comes to back to school week or back to school weekend. It's pretty crazy. I'm not sure we ever thought that back to school could take on the meaning that it is now in football. We'll explain straight ahead with Tom Barfield when he joins us. All In with Amy Lawrence on YouTube and the Rogue Media Network.
Lake Waco Golf Club is a semi-private facility nestled along the north point of Lake Waco, one of the few facilities in Texas to have a full 18-hole regulation golf course as well as an executive 18-hole par 3 golf course. Plus, check out their bar and grill, which is open to the public. And if you're not a golfer, then enjoy time by the pool or even enjoy fishing around Lake Waco. Become a member today and call to book your tee time. Lake Waco Golf Club, where family and friends fun begins. Check them out at lakewacogc.com for more information.
Summer isn't over yet. Make every last splash count at Waco Surf. Catch perfect waves, float the lazy river, or relax on the beach while the kids make unforgettable memories. Stay in their hotel or private cabins, or hook up with your RV. Located just 90 miles from Dallas and Austin, set on 450 acres in the heart of Texas, Waco Surf is unlike any other water park around. Before school starts, give your family one more epic adventure. WacoSurf.com. Book your stay today and catch a wave.
It's the premier charity event of the year, the 2026 Central Texas Cattle Barons Ball, presented by Ascension Providence. A fun evening filled with great food and drink, dancing, a spectacular auction, and more. This year's theme is Nashville Nights, Neon Lights, and Bullfights. Get your tickets now, donate, or be a sponsor. Help support the American Cancer Society to find a cure. The 2026 Central Texas Cattle Barons Ball, October 24th at MCC Highlander Ranch. For more information, go to centraltexascattlebaronsball.org.
Enjoy a quiet atmosphere with beautiful river views at the Brazos Landing, located in Waco along the Brazos River across from McLean Stadium. Enjoy homemade dishes like shrimp and grits, chicken piccata, braised short ribs, prime New York steaks, and more. Plus, enjoy a delicious dessert like creme brulee or key lime pie. Open for lunch and dinner Tuesday through Sunday. Brazos Landing in Waco, the only place where I-35 and the Brazos River meet.
For 75 years, Nalgene Outdoor has been your trusted companion, fueling adventures and helping protect the planet. We're committed to reducing waste, improving access to clean water, and providing simple, safe, and sustainable products for you and your family. No gimmicks, just durable, well-designed bottles built to last. Join us in our mission to amplify life, not complicate it. Because at Nalgene, what goes into our bottles matters as much as the adventures they fuel. Explore more at nalgene.com. That's NALGENE.com.
When you learn a language with Babbel, you start a journey that takes you further and further. Anytime and anywhere you wish. It's easy and fun. Broadens your horizons and keeps your brain fit. A journey into new thoughts, new cultures, new adventures. So what are you waiting for? Start your journey with Babbel now. Go to babbel.com or download the app.
Turn on the mic, Amy. I'm in a new place, as you can tell. It's a little bit of a different background. I'm doing double duty on this Monday, but man, there is no shortage of news. And so I'm excited to have you with us for week 4, All In with Amy Lawrence. And we're gearing up for both college football and the NFL. And to that end, we've got the breaking news from the Browns on this Monday. And we will have Todd Monken's explanation for why he went with Deshaun Watson, or why Deshaun Watson will get the nod in week number 1. If you'd like to weigh in, you've got our live chat that goes along with the live show, or you can find us on social media as well. And we're glad to connect with you. I had a ton of people finding the show for the first time over the weekend. A lot of traffic on our YouTube channel. We're the little engine that could. We're still building it, which is why I'm excited to welcome in my next guest, because he's an old hat veteran at this. Tom Barfield is now one of my colleagues at 365 Sports and Rogue Media Network, and he's got more than 40 years of broadcasting experience that he brings to the table and the microphone every single day as the host of the Tom Barfield show. So, Tom, I know you're making time for us because you've got your own show, but thank you so much for joining me on a Monday.
Amy, thank you. And I was just telling these guys the momentum that your program has right now, it is off the charts. Congratulations.
Oh, thank you.
No, I mean, we're all jealous. We're like, okay, it took us, forever to try to get, 6 people to watch, and you're just blowing this thing up, and so everybody around here is jealous. By the way, I want to give you a little piece of info here that you can use. Our good friend, John Morris, today's his birthday.
Oh,
yeah. And I
nice.
told John that I would get you to sing on your show.
I'm sorry.
Okay.
Well, here's the thing.
Yeah.
I will sing, but it will be off key. And I don't think you guys will want to listen anymore. And the rest of my listeners will jump off too. But happy birthday to John. I've told people over and over, John's the reason why I'm doing this right now, because he invited me on his show going back to April and was so kind to give me that platform and to also talk me up with Corey, our boss. So I appreciate John, and happy birthday to you, John. Tom, I feel like I can learn so much from you because I'm still getting adjusted to the camera. I appreciate your kind words. Thank you. I know that being old means people know you from other jobs. So that's maybe one of the benefits of having been in the business for 30 years. I'm only at 30. You're at 40, my friend. So You've got built-in audience wherever you go too.
I'm just old. And this is relatively new to me. I started this piece of it back in February. So, I mean, this is still, I was like, show up with a hat on or whatever. We did radio. You didn't have to wear, you didn't have to wear a collared shirt and all that kind of stuff. I mean, so now I'm just, and you're right. Getting accustomed to the camera is a different animal, isn't it?
It is, although it's provided some fun moments early on, and the fact that I can now jump on your show or John's and Pete's as well, and I'm learning from you guys, but we're also a fun community. So I'm glad to be a part of Rogue Media Network. I know that you are big into the Texas sports scene, but also just the college football world right now is exploding in ways that we never could have anticipated 5 years ago, whether it's the financial aspect and the money that athletes are making, whether it's the college football playoff that is just pouring hundreds of millions of dollars into these major conferences, whether it's the conferences who continue to reform and reshape like an amoeba from 8th grade science class, whatever it is, every week it's something new. And I am really excited to get your reaction to the latest, which is that we've got a player in Daquan Wright who, among a group of athletes, sued the state of Louisiana to try to get at least an injunction, a temporary injunction, so that he could earn another year of eligibility. And it's a little bit complicated, but all that to say that the new rule is now for college athletes, you get 5 years of eligibility. Well, he wasn't grandfathered in. That starts next year. And so he and a group of athletes in Louisiana sued the state to try to get an extra year. He's already on a practice squad. He's already on a preseason roster, first with the Eagles. He wasn't drafted, but he signs with the Eagles. Then he ends up with the Browns. He suits up for a preseason game this weekend, even while he's in the transfer portal, thinking this might come down the line. So Tom, in Baton Rouge, he gets this injunction, and he wants to go play for Lane Kiffin. So he's got to clear waivers from the NFL, which is a process. But honestly, he's already signed with Lane Kiffin, a coach that he knew from his time in college. I mean, there's so many ways that this plays out, so many ripple effects. But what's your reaction to a guy being on an NFL roster one weekend and then back in college the next?
It's a joke. It's an 100% joke. Look, in July, you had a judge in Colorado go, okay, since the NCAA is going to do 5 for 5, then I think those kids from the class of 2022 ought to get that 5th year. So they get the 5th year. Then a judge in Louisiana goes, no, you know what? The NCAA is fighting this, and they don't want to do that. So I'm going to put a restraining order on that 2022 class, and so they're no longer eligible. Oh, but if you had a TRO already in the works, and you can get a judge on any corner to sign one of those, then you are eligible. Oh, by the way, let's see if you don't make an NFL roster, then you can go get that 5th year. Amy, what are we doing to a great game? I mean, really, can anybody sit up and pay attention that you're screwing up a great game? In collegiate athletics right now, it's the wild, wild west. Do whatever in the hell you want to, or go find a judge who will let you. And that's where we are right now.
And it's, again, it's a one-off here, or maybe a two-off, in that it's an isolated couple of examples. But if it works, you could see where other athletes might jump into this, or even down the road. And here's the question that I keep coming back to. Why would a college football player or a college athlete who has a limited window to try to achieve his pro sports dreams, in this case, football, why would you want to turn around and then go back to college? But the answer in a lot of cases, Tom, is money. And that's
100%.
what's changed everything. If you can make, I don't know, 500 grand going back to college for one more year, or in some cases, $1 million, and you're eligible, who wouldn't choose that?
Yeah, and it's probably more than that if you want to know the truth. So they're going to go get money, they're going to play, and they're probably going to improve their draft status for next season at the end of this year, unless they can figure out a way to get a sixth year. I don't know. I'm just being facetious. But no, I think that's 100% what it is. It's NIL driven. So they're going to go back. They're going to get another year. They're going to play college football. They're going to make a lot of money doing it as a hired gun. And then they're going to improve that. Hopefully they're going to improve their draft status for next year, for the next draft. I don't blame the player. I don't blame the player for any of this. Get what you can if they're going to do it. But there's got to be an adult in the room at some place to say, we're not going to do this anymore. And I don't know if it's when Congress gets back in September, they can get that bill passed and maybe we can create some normalcy. I don't know. I don't know if we can put the genie back in the bottle. I really don't know.
Well, when it comes to the money, there's no way. And I don't mind if you're going to be above board about what the money is for and where the money's coming from. What's bothered me is the NIL has turned into a thinly veiled pay for play scheme. And so it's an easy way to launder money or funnel money when it's not about endorsements. It's not about these corporate partners or boosters getting bang for their buck. Nah, it's just about how much can we get from boosters to then turn around and pay these athletes. So if you're going to be above board about it, fine, then say we're going to pay our athletes, which is kind of where they are right now. I think too, the NFL is a different animal, right? So they regulate everything, to the point where guys have to, they have to have their sneakers that are standard issue, or their helmets have to be a certain model. They can't just go off and wear whatever they want. They have standards and regulations for everything. So if this would become a pattern, well, then I think you would see the NFL step in and say, no, if you are, there's a chance that you might go back to school or you're in the transfer portal, well, then you can't be on a roster or something along those lines. Because think about it from the NFL's point of view, Tom. Do they get their money back? Do they get their roster spot back? I mean, what do they do after this guy's gone and he returns to college?
Yeah, and I don't know. Are these guys going to be on the 53? Are they going to be on the practice squad? Or are they going to be guys that are cut from that NFL roster? They're just still looking for a place to go. I don't know. But I'm telling you, it's going to happen because it's a copycat situation. He did it, so I'm going to do it. And so, and here we go. At some point, the NCAA, which has no teeth, has got to figure out a way to be able to rule. And when they do try to enforce their rules, some judge in Podunk Junction, wherever, issues a temporary restraining order and allows the kid to go do whatever he wants to do. That's got to stop. And I don't know how you stop it.
So it's interesting too, and you are the voice of Baylor baseball, so you see the college athletic spectrum from maybe a different perspective, right? Because college football is all about the money. It does filter into college basketball, men's college basketball, some women's programs, but for the most part, a lot of the money-making programs, those then turn around and fund the rest of the athletic department. How much are you seeing the Wild Wild West, as you call it, affect baseball, and whether it's a power conference or some of the other schools that you see in your travels? How does it trickle down to that sport?
It's huge. And that's where these ADs and these folks have got to go find dollars, Amy, because it's a pay for play type situation in all sports, even in the non-revenue sports. I mean, you mentioned baseball. I dare to say that those people in the SEC are writing huge checks for their rosters. I saw a story the other day that there's several football programs over $40 million. That's not the case in baseball. But I'm telling you, there's a lot of money being spent across the board in these P4s. It is a ton of money being spent.
P4.
Yeah, power forward.
Yes.
But I call them P4. But you're seeing a lot of money spent. So where's that money coming from? And the other thing that we talked about a lot is there's X amount of dollars, right, Amy? So do you want facilities or do you want a roster? And you're right, by the way, it's not NIL. Never has been. These are employees of the university. I mean, they're professional athletes now. They are. And I keep going, okay, when are we going to start providing them health insurance and PTO and all that kind of stuff? Because, really, I mean, they're not going out to a car dealership and signing autographs on a Saturday afternoon for $500. They're not.
Mm-mm.
They're paid employees. They are, in a lot of cases, very well paid employees. You know that. And so, yeah, there's baseball players that are picking up big checks as well. And I don't know where that money's coming from. I mean, these guys are having to go out and get donors to pile up the money because it's an arms race right now. I mean, we got to build new facilities because people want new facilities, but we also got to pay them because they want their money. So they want their money. They want to play in a great place. So how do you do that? Well, I mean, who knows?
But in addition to that, it's become such a rat race because it's always about keeping up with whether it's your rival or you mentioned the P4s, so the other conferences. And we see that domino effect where one conference starts to invite new members and expand to a different region of the country. And so, okay, now another conference has to do it. And what I feel like a lot of college football fans don't know is that the decisions are not being made by the NCAA. The NCAA gets blamed for so much. It's out of their control. They don't have any bit of influence or impact right now. It is about the commissioners of these power conferences. And it's, as much as I believe that they will consider all the factors, what it looks like more and more is a money grab. The more playoff games you get, so whether it's healthy for the sport or not, the more playoff games you get, the more money you charge your broadcast partners. But then there's the trickle-down effect on the other side, right, Tom? Where if you are an athletic director or coach and you're recruiting or you're trying to find guys in the transfer portal and convince them to come to your school, if you can say to them, look, we were in the playoff. We might have been the 8th team in our conference, but our conference is so good. We had this many national TV games and we made the playoff. It's all about defining value in a different way. And I just don't know where the merry-go-round stops and people ultimately get so seasick that they're done with it.
I don't either. I mean, you make a great point, but somebody has got to be in charge. And I'm with you. The NCAA is not in charge. And again, you go back to the ruling in Louisiana that the NCAA sought an injunction. That injunction was granted. So now what? Well, let's make an end around. Let's get a temporary restraining order. And if we've already got that TRO, then that ruling doesn't affect us. So when they absolutely try to enforce their rules, they get sidetracked by some judge. So I don't know. I mean, I don't know where we go or what we do. And I truly believe that a lot of it will kind of shove to the side, once we start playing games.
Yes, always.
And part of me wants to, but part of me also wants to find a way to I don't know if you can fix it, but some kind of definition of this is what we can and cannot do. And I don't know if we're going to ever get there, but I think if they don't, if and you got people like Nick Saban that are trying. I mean, they really are trying. And if they can't figure that out, they're going to ruin a great game. They really are.
I think that's one of the byproducts that it really bothers me, that I hate the most, is that you have quality coaches and incredible educators and leaders and teachers and men and women who cared about the whole person, not just about the winning and the athlete or protecting their jobs and that whole rigmarole. But I do hate that it's forcing coaches out who just don't want to deal with it, right? I mean, there are some coaches, like, for instance, a Bill Belichick, and whether or not you think he should be in college, that's not really the point, but he dealt with general managers managers. He dealt with paying for rosters in the NFL. So this is not that different for him. But a coach like even a Roy Williams or a Jay Wright who left Villanova because he just didn't like where college sports were going. And I truly believe that's one of the reasons Nick Saban left is it's overwhelming, but it's also not the type of system he wants to be a part of. And now there's the conversation about whether or not the football playoff should expand. So I sometimes wonder, Tom, if I didn't care so much and it didn't bother me so much, just some of the principles and the way that it's going. I've got colleagues who just are along for the ride. They think it's hysterical and it's so funny and it's so much fun to cover it because it's insane. Whereas I feel like, no, it's getting out of control. We're doing a disservice to the athletes. But I guess if you don't care, you do really enjoy it a little more.
Yeah, I'm with you though. I'm gonna side with you. It's bothersome to me. I just think it's too great a game. I mean, you look at the pageantry of college football on Saturday. You don't get that anywhere else. I mean, you know me. I love high school football here in the state of Texas. I think it's the greatest football, amateur football that's played. Texas, it is. No, and there's no question. But there's no pageantry like college football. And what's happening is are they going to get to a point where they can't back the thing up? I don't know. And that's what bothers me. And I'm not smart enough to know, Amy. I'm really not. I mean, I'm just a guy that likes to talk about first downs and touchdowns and, and that kind of stuff. This stuff right here makes me ill because I'm not smart enough to figure it all out. Don't want to know. You want to, quite frankly, know the truth. But we have to follow this because that's where we are in in college football right now. We just don't know what is right, what is wrong, and is it going to be right or wrong tomorrow? Because it's changing just daily. I mean, and it's just a mess where we are in college athletics. And it's not just football. I know we're talking a lot about football, but it's a mess everywhere. I mean, across the board, we've got to figure this out. And because if not, you're just ruining a great game, in my opinion.
So before I let you go, I have to tell you a funny story. I was actually in Oklahoma this weekend, which I know can be sacrilegious for some Texans, but we did drive our Texas vehicle on faith up into Oklahoma. Now, I started my career like my play-by-play career and my sports career in Oklahoma. So it will forever be really important to me. But as part of my job in Woodward, Oklahoma, which is a 5A football school that's up near the Panhandle. So more cows than people, but they've got a lot of students in the area. And so that's kind of where I cut my teeth on big time high school football. And I remember I drove into the Texas Panhandle and did was it 8-on-8? Or I don't know if they're still
6-on-6.
Six on six. Sorry. Yeah. I did some 6-man football while I was there, and I had never seen it before in my life. And so I was kind of getting a crash course. But yeah, for a couple of years, I traveled all over Northwest Oklahoma, Texas Panhandle, Southwest Kansas. I did American Legion baseball. I did high school football, which is also so such a passion for so many families. And I did a lot of high school football in Oklahoma and Texas. And it really was an indoctrination for me, that and covering the Big 12, because that was back when Bob Stoops was at Oklahoma, and so they had won that national championship. And so I was part of kind of understanding it's different here. As a girl from the Northeast, it is different in the Southwest and the Midwest. So it was a neat experience for me, even though it was Oklahoma. Now I'm in Texas, so you have to accept me, Tom.
Yeah, no, but you know what? To your point, to a great degree, it's a way of life. I mean, it's that important. I mean, it really, really is. And I mean, there's a lot that's poured into it. Look at some of these Texas high school football stadiums. There's a $60 million stadium in Allen, Texas, and down in the greater Houston area where I think you're hanging out today. There's a ton of unbelievable facilities. We got one here in Waco for Waco ISD that's unreal.
We have a family member who coaches at Stephenville, and we went to visit him. They're defending state champions. Their high school football stadium looks nicer than the college stadium that's in town. It's amazing the money that's poured into it. So you're right about it being a lifeblood for many towns. It's their economy too. So it's their joy and it's their excitement, but it's also their economy and brings a lot of money in. So I love it.
I mean, I believe it or not, long story short, I worked in Stephenville. Love Stephenville. I was the play-by-play guy the first year that Art Briles was the head coach.
Wow.
So yeah, that's, just kind of connection
Yes,
there. But
very cool.
But to your point, it is incredibly important in a lot of places. And you're right. Those 5 Friday nights, those 5 home games on Friday night in the fall, incredibly important to those communities. It brings those communities together. It's really important.
So you can find Tom on his own YouTube channel, which is the Tom Barfield Show. And he's got 40 years of experience, a Waco native, voice of Baylor baseball, and just really an aficionado when it comes to Texas football and Texas, especially the high school sports. I'm excited to see that. This will be my first full fall in Texas. And so
you got to
have
come
you
up
back on the show. Yes, I would love that. It'll be so
Rogue, so Rogue 365, we got 4 high school broadcasts that we're doing starting this Friday night. So there's plenty of work, girl. There's plenty of work.
Very cool. Very cool. Well, thank you for taking some time. I know you're real busy. It's a crazy time of the year now, but it's good to see you, and I hope that we get to do it again, Tom.
Please, thanks. I enjoyed it. Thanks so much. And you got the great guy behind the scenes in Zach. I'm telling you, he's awesome, isn't he?
He is awesome. I'm glad I was able to steal him away. Thanks, Tom.
There you go. Have a great day.
So even as Tom is giving us great compliments to start the show the first 3+ weeks, I actually just was saying to Zach last week, like, oh my gosh, this is so hard building it from the ground up. But Zach was very encouraging and just reminded me that it will take some time and it's okay to start slow. But we are the little engine that could. We want to be where Tom Barfield is or where Pete Souza is now. So my new colleagues, John Morris, again, happy birthday to him. He's been so kind to me. I'm really grateful to be part of the Rogue Media Network family, and also grateful that you all are along with us here on this Monday. It's not only Monday week 4 for us, but it is Monday, August 24th, which means Labor Day weekend is on the horizon, which means high school, college, and pro football are now on the horizon, meaning you can almost smell it, right? The grass, the cleats, the fresh pig skin. Does that make me weird that I know the smells of football? And I don't mean the locker rooms, although they've got their own unique smell too. Glad to have you with us. Happy Monday. We're all in with Amy Lawrence here on YouTube and the Rogue Media Network.
Summer isn't over yet. Make every last splash count at Waco Surf. Catch perfect waves, float the lazy river, or relax on the beach while the kids make unforgettable memories. Stay in their hotel or private cabins, or hook up with your RV. Located just 90 miles from Dallas and Austin, set on 450 acres in the heart of Texas, Waco Surf is unlike any other water park around. Before school starts, give your family one more epic adventure. WacoSurf.com. Book your stay today and catch a wave.
It's the premier charity event of the year, the 2026 Central Texas Cattle Barons Ball, presented by Ascension Provident. A fun evening filled with great food and drink, dancing, a spectacular auction, and more. This year's theme is Nashville Nights, Neon Lights, and Bullfights. Get your tickets now, donate, or be a sponsor. Help support the American Cancer Society to find a cure. The 2026 Central Texas Cattle Barons Ball, October 24th at MCC Highlander Ranch. For more information, go to centraltexascattlebaronsball.org.
Enjoy a quiet atmosphere with beautiful river views at the Brazos Landing, located in Waco along the Brazos River across from McLean Stadium. Enjoy homemade dishes like shrimp and grits, chicken piccata, braised short ribs, prime New York steaks, and more. Plus, enjoy a delicious dessert like creme brulee or key lime pie. Open for lunch and dinner Tuesday through Sunday. Brazos Landing in Waco, the only place where I-35 and the Brazos River meet.
Lake Waco Golf Club is a semi-private facility nestled along the north point of Lake Waco, one of the few facilities in Texas to have a full 18-hole regulation golf course as well as an executive 18-hole par 3 golf course. Plus, check out their bar and grill, which is open to the public. And if you're not a golfer, then enjoy time by the pool or even enjoy fishing around Lake Waco. Become a member today and call to book your tee time. Lake Waco Golf Club, where family and friends fun begins. Check them out at lakewacogc.com for more information.
I know you're gonna love this Kodak Dot Plus printer. You guys just connect it to your smartphone and then you're gonna use the Kodak Photo Print app. It's going to print you a 4x6 photo. I am just in awe. I love how these turned out. Also, the printer comes with a free cartridge of 10 photo sheets. I can assure you, you are going to love this printer as much as my family has. You guys have to check it out for yourself.
Farmhound's approach is a little different than a traditional tree company. We get to work with local farmers who are putting everything they can into regenerative farming. From the soil to the animals to the ecosystem. They care about how animals are raised and how we treat the earth. It's not just product, but it's part of that story. It's connected to just a whole lot more.
Little bit of a different atmosphere and a different background behind me. So I am in a space in my mom's house. It's a spare bedroom, but I use it for my Sirius XM radio shows. And I had one of those this morning. So thank you for your patience and your understanding as I try to juggle multiple jobs, especially this time of the year where it's summer and people still take more time off. As we head toward football season, likely to be fewer of those conflicts. And I don't want you to get out of the regular routine of finding us here at a certain time, which will generally be 11 to 1 p Eastern, 10 to noon for me in the central time zone. And for those of you who are on the West Coast, it's 8 a.m. when we start. But the neat thing about the digital space, as I keep telling you, is that you can watch or listen whenever you want. And it was really neat. I felt some warm fuzzies. We're talking about find your feels. I felt some finding of my feels this weekend when I saw a lot of the traffic. I mean, didn't do a ton of social media because I was with friends most of the weekend, but tried to drop in some different clips and encourage people to find the YouTube channel over the weekend as well. And I did see a lot of traffic and a lot of people asking, when is your show live or where can I listen? And also love the fact that we do have a podcast. So whether you listen live or you don't, people have jobs and lives and kids and responsibilities. And I certainly get all of that. So if you don't watch or listen live, you have the option. Whenever the show is done, you can grab it on your favorite podcast platform. I think it takes us about 30 minutes or so. Producer Zach can correct me if I'm wrong, but it goes up pretty quickly and it's broken down by hours. And if you go to your favorite podcast platform, which is Amazon or Google, or you know what, just go back to the YouTube channel named after the show, you can find it. We also put clips up on our social media. So our Insta and our TikTok. My goodness, my friend that I was with this weekend in Woodward, Oklahoma, she had TikTok on her phone and she pulled up the account. And so we're just diving in with both feet. And you don't dive in with feet. I never really understood. You jump in with both feet. You dive in with your hands and your arms and your head first, if you do it the right way. But this first month, we're trying to spread the word. And I love the fact that so many of you are finding the show. So that makes me happy. After the fact, if you want to listen overnight or early morning, because that's when you used to listen to me for almost 13 years, that's fine too. So glad to have you with us. I see a lot of your comments on our live stream. So I'm in a different place, but maybe you're in the same place. And we're just glad we're reconvening here on this Monday. Okay, we are going to head. So normally we would end at noon Central, 1 o'clock Eastern, but we are going to head through the next hour because I started an hour later. So yay. And that only applies to you if you are listening or watching us live. But thanks again for weighing in and letting us know that you're out there in the stratosphere somewhere. The big news is from the NFL world is that Deshaun Watson will be the starting quarterback for the Cleveland Browns come week number 1. If you follow the Browns or if you follow the NFL, or you know what, if you follow me and you've listened to me for any stretch of time, you know that it's a fluid situation at the Browns QB spot. It never stays the same for long. So I wouldn't expect, in fact, if I were a betting gal, I might bet sizable money on this idea that Deshaun Watson will only start part of the year and that we will see Shedeur Sanders take over that position at some point. Now, it's all contingent upon health. And that's the major hurdle for Deshaun is can he stay healthy, especially given the number of injuries that his body has been through over the course of his, I don't want to say short career, relatively short though, considering that he's been in the league. Gosh, what was he drafted? 16, 17. Hold on, I'm going to look. 17. He was drafted in 17. And yet over the past going back to 2020, he has only played 19 games. Since the Browns paid him all that guaranteed money, he's played in 19 regular season games. So we'll hear from Todd Monken after the top of the hour, the head coach explaining why he's installed Deshaun Watson as QB1 for now. But I'm not sure if you saw this breaking news. There's a mugshot, which should capture your attention right away. Now, I'm telling you this because it's an NFL owner, number one, but also because there's a personal connection for me and my family to the DeBartolo York clan. They hail from Youngstown, Ohio. They are the owners of the San Francisco 49ers. Jed York is the owner of the San Francisco 49ers. But when I talk to you about Ohio and the fact that he's been caught, he's been accused, he's pleaded no contest to some charges that are originating in Ohio, it's because that's where the DeBartolo York family is based. And that's where, they have facilities there. They have homes there. My mom grew up in Northeast Ohio. My grandparents have a home in the greater Youngstown, or had a home in the greater Youngstown area. So that was my second home. Mom grew up in that area. Her whole side of the family is from there. And so I'm really familiar with the names. Even before I covered the NFL or knew anything about the NFL, I knew about the DeBartolo Yorks. But also, it's funny because I do remember when I was growing up that you would bring up that name, either DeBartolo and DeBartolo is really the family name, DeBartolo or York being part of the married name. But I would bring up that name and you would get all manner of facial expressions. Some people roll their eyes. Some people would start to blast him. You could see the anger cross the faces of some. And these are fans, again, in Northeast Ohio, Cleveland Browns fans, Steelers fans, but the family, the DeBartolo family, now the DeBartolo Yorks, are both famous and infamous in the area. So owner Jed York has a mugshot out there. He's pleaded no contest, meaning he's trying to get this to go away as quickly as possible because he was arrested in Ohio on suspicion of engaging in prostitution over the weekend. So according to the court records, because he's already gone through the court process, police arrested him on Sunday with a charge of, quote, engaging in prostitution. Okay, so that was the charge on which they arrested him. Later, the charge was amended, I guess would be reduced to misdemeanor disorderly conduct because he pleaded no contest. So he decided he would go ahead and plead. We're not going to take up court resources. And trust me, he's not doing this because he cares about the civic and law enforcement in local Ohio. He's doing it because he wants this to go away as quickly as possible. So his attorneys, I'm sure they're paid a lot of money. His attorneys got the court to agree, the prosecution on the other side to agree to reduce this charge to a misdemeanor disorderly conduct, meaning it's no longer a charge of engaging in prostitution, it's disorderly conduct. But it doesn't mean that the prostitution allegations just disappear. I mean, that's in every story that's on the internet. It's in every story that you're going to read and see and hear over the next few days until this happens to die down. Why does this matter? Well, he's one of the NFL owners, and very often the league offices will come down on a league owner, an NFL owner who has stepped out of line, or in some cases been arrested or engaged in criminal activity or even been accused. So Roger Goodell and his front office, they do have powers to suspend and or punish / discipline, maybe fine an owner when he is caught or when he is accused of engaging in activity that brings a negative light and negative attention onto the NFL. So the court records indicate that the local prosecutor filed the plea on Monday morning. York pleaded no contest. He paid $1,150 in fines. Oh dear. Yeah, so this is a millionaire and a family with a lot of money. So chump change to him, but he was also sentenced to 1 day in jail on each charge. So 1 day for the misdemeanor disorderly conduct, another day for this is weird. I don't know what this means. I'll have to wait for more information. But the other misdemeanor charge is possessing criminal tools. Anybody out there who's an attorney, don't Google it and tell me what it means. But if there's anybody out there who could explain what that charge means, because all I'm going to do is search on the internet. So it's misdemeanor disorderly conduct and misdemeanor possessing criminal tools. But because he was sentenced to 1 day in jail for each of the charges, he'd already been in jail for 1 day. So one of those days is down. He's got one more day to serve. There is a mugshot out there. He's owned the Niners since 2024 as the majority owner. But he's been with the team for years. I mean, he's their CEO going back to 2008. And so there's a no way that the story just disappears, even though he's trying to deal with it quickly by pleading no contest and getting these charges reduced. Whether the prostitution comes back to bite him in the ass, not literally, but meaning the NFL, they do their own investigation, this criminal tools situation, but the NFL can't afford to just let this go. That's not what they do. They will follow it through. Think Bob Kraft a few years ago when he was part of a sting that took place in, I think it was the Miami area, with a massage parlor where there was allegedly other activity going on beyond just massages. And there was a lot made of that. You may remember that the now deceased owner of the Indianapolis Colts, that he actually had to serve a suspension for some of the driving under the influence charges and activities that he was engaging in before he passed away. So the NFL could crack down and could actually hand down some discipline, but it's disturbing. The details that we know of, and they are limited, the mugshot that's out there, not a great look. And nor is it wonderful for the San Francisco 49ers that their CEO is arrested on these charges just days before the season kicks off. So ew, cringy, icky. I don't know many more details, but Jed York has got a mugshot. That's what we need to know on this Monday. Also on this Monday, we know that Deshaun Watson, for now, is QB1 for the Cleveland Browns. Head coach Todd Monken explains his decision, and I will react once we get through this next break. Thanks for hanging out with us. All In with Amy Lawrence here on YouTube and the Rogue Media Network.
Enjoy a quiet atmosphere with beautiful river views at the Brazos Landing, located in Waco along the Brazos River across from McLean Stadium. Enjoy homemade dishes like shrimp and grits, chicken piccata, braised short ribs, prime New York steaks, and more. Plus, enjoy a delicious dessert like creme brulee or key lime pie. Open for lunch and dinner Tuesday through Sunday. Brazos Landing in Waco, the only place where I-35 and the Brazos River meet.
Lake Waco Golf Club is a semi-private facility nestled along the north point of Lake Waco, one of the few facilities in Texas to have a full 18-hole regulation golf course as well as an executive 18-hole par 3 golf course. Plus, check out their bar and grill, which is open to the public. And if you're not a golfer, then enjoy time by the pool or even enjoy fishing around Lake Waco. Become a member today and call to book your tee time. Lake Waco Golf Club, where family and friends fun begins. Check them out at lakewacogc.com for more information.
Farmhound's approach is a little different than a traditional treat company. We get to work with local farmers who are putting everything they can into regenerative farming. From the soil to the animals to the ecosystem. They care about how animals are raised and how we treat the earth. It's not just product, but it's part of that story. It's connected to just a whole lot more.
Tervis is all about staying hydrated with style and durability. You can trust Tervis tumblers to keep your drinks the perfect temperature, hot or cold, for hours. From the classic insulated tumblers to sleek stainless steel water bottles, each product is built to last and comes in endless designs to match your personality. Stay refreshed and express yourself with Tervis. Visit tervis.com today and find your perfect tumbler.
Happy Monday to you. Hope that you're bright-eyed and bushy-tailed on this Monday. It's crazy to me that we are in the end stages of August. How is that possible? Labor Day is coming up. Now, it's weird because if you remember last year, Labor Day was the first day of September, so it felt like it was early. Whereas Labor Day this year is actually the latest date it can be, which is September 7th, because the first is a Tuesday. And so it maybe feels a little bit later. And yet, I would say that with Labor Day coming, it always marks the unofficial end of summer. I hope that the summer temps go away because I saw 109 on a temperature gauge this weekend in Texas, and I might send up the flare. Help me, help me. So I'm okay with fall getting here and the temperature's cooling down, please. But yeah, it's the end of August, which means that people are kind of taking their last hurrah vacations or their weekend getaways. That's what my husband and I did this weekend on up to Oklahoma. But I want to say thank you to Waco Surf, and just to encourage people, whether you are in the area in Texas or you're outside the Lone Star State, you can go and you can stay and you can play. And with Labor Day weekend coming up and just the last few days of summer, it's an opportunity to experience the water park as well as some of the other activities. It's a full family affair. There's a hotel, there's an RV park, there are cabins too. So make the most of the rest of the summer because it is wrapping up soon. And honestly, all these years in the business, summer for me ends when football starts. And I know that it's not the weather. Sometimes it's not even Labor Day because college football starts before Labor Day, but that's when it gets serious. So summer, yay, hi, bye. Now it's all about serious football business. And it really doesn't just begin with the start of the season. We've had training camps going on now for a month, believe it or not. And obviously college football with their scrimmages and their two-a-days and trying to get ready for the season. Week 0 kicks off in mere days. So it's been happening now for weeks, but when it comes to games that count, that's when we really get serious. And that's why teams are now making their choices at the various positions where they've got battles and they've got options. And of course, cut down day is coming up too in the NFL following this final preseason weekend. Todd Monken, as the head coach of the Cleveland Browns, did not wait until preseason game number 3 to announce that he's made his decision. So he told the media on Sunday that he'd made a decision, that he would make it public on Monday. Maybe wanted to talk to the quarterbacks themselves first, Deshaun Watson and Shedeur Sanders. And it was a fairly dramatic weekend for Deshaun. We'll get back to that. And yes, I am being tongue-in-cheek, poor guy. But Todd Monken spoke to the media mere minutes ago about choosing Deshaun Watson and what this means moving forward for the Browns.
Deshaun is going to start against Jacksonville. Took in the full body of work over the course of off-season to training camp to the games, the joint practice, and ultimately felt like to start the season on the road, Deshaun gave us the best chance to move the ball and score points. I mean, that's really what it's about. And felt that way going into the last game, but wasn't sure. And after we talked as a staff and after we re-looked at everything, we're going to go that direction.
Is this a week-by-week thing? Or?
No, we're not anticipating this being a week-by-week thing. Again, I think Shedeur has done a great job, come a long ways, and we're excited about his future. But this is not a week-to-week decision.
There are so many factors at play here. First of all, Todd Monken is a first-year head coach. Okay, so as much as he cares about being with the Browns in the future, he's also really concerned about keeping his job, which means you got to win some ball games this season. And I think it varies from franchise to franchise how much the coach has autonomy when it comes to this. So the other factor, or another factor, is definitely the idea that this is the last year for that 5-year deal that the Browns gave to Deshaun Watson, which predates Todd Monken, but it's the $230 million fully guaranteed. They're going to pay him this year whether he plays or not. And they paid him last year when he didn't play. So he had 2 Achilles injuries. He's not played since middle of the 24 season. Am I yelling? I probably am. He's not played since the middle of the 2024 season. He missed all of last year. So this dude has not played football that matters, that actually counts, wins and losses, in nearly 2 years. But they're paying him, which means they'd like to recoup a little more of their investment. So the question, of course, for Todd Monken, and really for a lot of head coaches when you make a decision like this, but considering the contract for Deshaun and the fact that it's been a tenuous partnership at best with the Browns organization and Deshaun, how much did the front office or even above Todd Monken have to do with his quarterback choice?
Well, I think any major decision, right, is an organizational decision. Ultimately, I have to make that call, right? I guess if you said, hey, the decision on trades or free agents that we bring in or contracts, ultimately Andrew would have to make that decision, but those are organizational decisions, right? That's the way it runs, and that's we talked about it. We did. We had conversations about it, and we landed on this.
Andrew Berry being the Cleveland Browns GM. I appreciate his candor because certainly there is a front office element to this. And again, the fact that while Deshaun has more experience and has more snaps under his belt in the NFL and more time reading defenses and communicating with offensive linemen and every element that comes into what it means to be a successful NFL QB, he is a former Pro Bowler, but not in his Cleveland life. That was his Houston life during his rookie contract. That goes back to the days when he was with the Texans before everything blew up in both his personal and professional lives. And I'm not going to go back on all the history, but I do think with Deshaun Watson, there's no way you can just limit this to football. It's also about the $230 million contract that's fully guaranteed that the Browns are still paying. Whether or not they'll ever admit they have buyer's remorse, we all know they do. They don't have to say it. They don't have to stand in front of a microphone or write us a letter to let us know that, of course, they regret it because he's played, are you ready for this? He's played in 19 games since they signed him to the $230 million contract. Here, I'll break it down by season because you remember he skipped all of 21. Okay, so he played in 2020. That was the COVID year. He was a Pro Bowler with the Houston Texans, but their relationship fell apart in that offseason. And he decided he wanted to trade and he was not going to play. Then all of the accusations from the massage therapist, one after another, over the course of 21. And then the Browns, they never thought they had a chance until the Texans were highly motivated to move him. But they had to give him the money to get him because there were other teams. He doesn't like the cold. So he really didn't want to go to Cleveland. There were other teams. In fact, it looked like he was heading to either Miami or Atlanta until the Browns slapped down $230 million fully guaranteed. But then when he got to Cleveland, he had to serve an 11-game suspension. So he doesn't play in 21. He barely plays in 22, started 6 games in 2022. He gets injured in 2023 and only starts 6 games in 23. That's a dozen total. In 2024, he starts 7 games before he tears his Achilles heel the first time. So no joke, that $230 million, not to mention the exorbitant amounts of money that they paid for his surgeries and his rehab and keeping him on the roster and everything that comes with supporting a player when he's injured, especially a serious injury like these. He's played in 19 games for the Cleveland Browns. There are many reasons to wonder about the football acumen and prowess and ability to go out there and be consistent after so much time away from football and after a disjointed tenure at best with the Browns. That's the thing. The Browns have not seen him show flashes consistently. They've not seen more than flashes of the Pro Bowl quarterback that he was when he first came out of college, when he first landed with the Houston Texans. Are they holding out hope that he's suddenly going to morph back into that superhero? And I'm, again, being tongue-in-cheek, being sarcastic. No, it doesn't work that way. You don't get older and have more injuries on your body, especially back-to-back Achilles tears, and think, oh yeah, I'm going to be as good as I was when I was 22. It just doesn't work that way in real life, nor does it work that way in football. He's not as explosive. He's not as athletic or as agile, and he's always had some issues with his accuracy and throwing the football. And so with Deshaun Watson, there's been a lot of question marks. This really comes down to he's got a little more experience, and also we're paying him $230 million fully guaranteed, and we've gotten almost no bang for our buck. When it comes to Shedeur Sanders, and this is why I don't think that they'll go all season long with Deshaun. When it comes to Shedeur Sanders, he's a young guy who's shown promise, but he needs more reps. He needs more time. And if you're the Cleveland Browns and you're playing for the now, but you come out of the starting gate and you lose 5 games in a row, then maybe you make that change because you understand, number one, even in a wide open AFC North, we are unlikely to be a competitor or contender this year. And I don't know how many people are holding out hope that he's going to lead them to contending status or that the Browns are a contender this year. But if you come out of the gate and you limp to, say, 1 win in your first 6 weeks or your first 2 months, well, then you make a change because a lot of your roster is young. We know for certain, and I mean 100% certainty, that Deshaun Watson is not the quarterback of the future. He's the quarterback of the now. Shedeur Sanders, whether it's him or whether it's another guy they draft in 2027, the future is different for the Cleveland Browns. That revolving door at QB continues for the Cleveland Browns. So they're going to have to give Shedeur Sanders some time to figure out what they've got in him and whether or not they need to make another move at quarterback come the next offseason. So they are going to give him more time. They are going to give him some reps. It's just a matter of when. Now, as we get to the idea of Deshaun Watson and the relationship with the fans in Cleveland, well, that veers us off the beaten path, but it came into focus this weekend because he got booed in the Brown Stadium and he didn't take it lying down. So if you didn't hear his comments over the weekend, we played them earlier here on the show, but now he's actually trying to make nice, I think, being named QB1. He's trying to clarify. So what say you, Deshaun? That's straight ahead here, All In with Amy Lawrence on YouTube and the Rogue Media Network.
Lake Waco Golf Club is a semi-private facility nestled along the north point of Lake Waco, one of the few facilities in Texas to have a full 18-hole regulation golf course as well as an executive 18-hole par 3 golf course. Plus, check out their bar and grill, which is open to the public. And if you're not a golfer, then enjoy time by the pool or even enjoy fishing around Lake Waco. Become a member today and call to book your tee time. Lake Waco Golf Club, where family and friends fun begins. Check them out at lakewacogc.com for more information.
Summer isn't over yet. Make every last splash count at Waco Surf. Catch perfect waves, float the lazy river, or relax on the beach while the kids make unforgettable memories. Stay in their hotel or private cabins, or hook up with your RV. Located just 90 miles from Dallas and Austin, set on 450 acres in the heart of Texas, Waco Surf is unlike any other water park around. Before school starts, give your family one more epic adventure. WacoSurf.com. Book your stay today and catch a wave.
It's the premier charity event of the year, the 2026 Central Texas Cattle Barons Ball, presented by Ascension Provident. A fun evening filled with great food and drink, dancing, a spectacular auction, and more. This year's theme is Nashville Nights, Neon Lights, and Bullfights. Get your tickets now, donate, or be a sponsor. Help support the American Cancer Society to find a cure. The 2026 Central Texas Cattle Barons Ball, October 24th at MCC Highlander Ranch. For more information, go to centraltexascattlebaronsball.org.
Enjoy a quiet atmosphere with beautiful river views at the Brazos Landing, located in Waco along the Brazos River across from McLean Stadium. Enjoy homemade dishes like shrimp and grits, chicken piccata, braised short ribs, prime New York steaks, and more. Plus, enjoy a delicious dessert like creme brulee or key lime pie. Open for lunch and dinner Tuesday through Sunday. Brazos Landing in Waco, the only place where I-35 and the Brazos River meet.
For 75 years, Nalgene Outdoor has been your trusted companion, fueling adventures and helping protect the planet. We're committed to reducing waste, improving access to clean water, and providing simple, safe, and sustainable products for you and your family. No gimmicks, just durable, well-designed bottles built to last. Join us in our mission to amplify life, not complicate it. Because at Nalgene, what goes into our bottles matters as much as the adventures they fuel. Explore more at nalgene.com. That's NALGENE.com.
When you learn a language with Babbel, you start a journey that takes you further and further. Anytime and anywhere you wish. It's easy and fun. Broadens your horizons and keeps your brain fit. A journey into new thoughts, new cultures, new adventures. So what are you waiting for? Start your journey with Babbel now. Go to babbel.com or download the app.
Happy Monday to you. Thanks for hanging out with us. Yes, I know it's different. In fact, producer Zach, I'm going to pivot and share some of these comments from our live chat. But I did see one from David here while we're doing the show, in which he asks, where and what? Not your usual looking place. He says he joined late, so he missed the explanation. So David, here is the explanation. I had double duty this morning. I started out on Sirius XM NFL radio and was hosting with former NFL running back and Titans general manager Rand Carthon. And we had the breaking news with Deshaun Watson being named the starting quarterback. And so I did 2 hours there, and I asked my boss, Corey, if I could push back the start of our show by an hour. So we're going up until the top of this next hour here, about 35 minutes or so. But because I do my shows on SiriusXM from Mom's house, I am currently in one of Mom's spare bedrooms, and it's actually a nice space. The issue is, of course, it's not so much set up for being on camera, because I don't normally do shows with the camera. Although, funny enough, I do my shows on SiriusXM on Zoom. And when I work with partners on the NFL channel, which is channel 88, sometimes they want to be able to see me. And this is a guy I had interviewed Rand in the past, believe it or not. Been part of an interview with him in a different media capacity, but I'd never done a show with him. So he wanted to be on camera. So I was on camera so that we could see each other and kind of communicate that way. But generally, I'm not on camera when I'm doing the Sirius XM shows. And because we got off the air on Sirius at 11:59 and 30 seconds. So 11:59 and 30 seconds local. Was it local? No, it was national. 11:59 and 30 seconds. Now I'm getting myself all confused. I really only had seconds, not even probably 120 seconds to turn on my camera and get started. I just didn't have time to change the room up or go somewhere else. So we're in Mom's spare bedroom. This was a bedroom that my nieces, I've slept in here before too, but my nieces would use the beds on either side of me when they were younger. And actually when they were here at Christmas time, they were in here too. So I like this room. I love being at mom's house. Just didn't have time to get back to my own studio, but this won't be a normal thing. It'll be more of an emergency when I've got to handle multiple shows in one day, which is never a problem for me, because I do have plenty to say. Glad to have you with us on this Monday. If you want to weigh in on our social media, you can do that. We've got the Twix account at A-Law Radio, also on our Facebook page, and then we're trying to grow the Instagram and the TikTok accounts. It's slow right now. Really, most of the traffic comes through our YouTube channel or the two social media accounts that I've had for, 15 years or so. So for that reason, a lot of you know me from those accounts. But if you want to, you can find us on Insta and TikTok. We do the short clips there pretty much every day. Okay, so as I'm looking over at your comments, thank you, David, for asking why I'm in a different place and why things are weird today. Actually, that's not his word, that's my word. But I see some of your other comments just weighing in on the topics that we've thrown out there today. Kevin says this about Deshaun Watson: if he plays and gets hurt, they get an insurance check. They've already received $88 million in injury insurance payments in the last 4 years. Okay, well, I do understand that element for sure. I mean, that's why they take out insurance policies in the NFL on guys to whom they commit gobs of money, or just guys that can be injury prone. They've not recouped all of their money. What they need right now is a starting quarterback that can last the entire season. It's been nothing but musical chairs internally. I mean, think about it. Even the year they made the playoffs, that was 24, right? Joe Flacco, the comeback player of the year, they still started, I think, 5 different quarterbacks. They need stability at that position. So I get it. They could recoup some more of their money, but I don't think you throw a guy out there just in the hopes that he gets hurt. That would be cynical and underhanded, even for an NFL team. I'm just kidding. I don't think anyone throws a player out there hoping he'll get hurt, but yeah, you could potentially recoup some of your money. The big deal, though, is that they're a young roster, and Deshaun Watson is in his final year with Cleveland. Maybe he goes out there and he puts his best foot forward and he's motivated. Number one, because he's in a contract year. This is a year for Deshaun Watson in which he's got to prove it, or he may be out of the NFL altogether. Now, if he gets hurt again, there's another Achilles tear, that probably ends his career just physically. But if this guy wants to find another home in the league, it's not going to be Cleveland. I hope I don't eat those words. It's not going to be Cleveland, but if he plays really well this year, somehow, I am extremely doubtful. I do not believe it will happen. I don't believe he'll last the entire season. But if he does somehow play well and the Browns are at least competitive in the AFC North with that young roster, well, then maybe he earns himself another shot elsewhere in the NFL. I don't know about starting gig, again, because he's very unreliable, but I do know that there are a lot of guys out there holding clipboards, earning paychecks as backup QBs. And if he doesn't want to leave the NFL yet, then maybe this is his chance to earn another job. So I appreciate what Kevin has to say. And yeah, there could be some injury reimbursement, but that doesn't make up for what they've lost or the years they've lost with Deshaun Watson. Okay, so another one. Ron says Cleveland has a young squad with a talented QB. Cut Deshaun. So he says him, but I think he's referring to Deshaun, to let the young new players understand that bad behavior can have consequences. Hey, Ron, I agree with you. The thing is, if the Browns were willing to give him $230 million fully guaranteed in the midst of all of those lawsuits and accusations that were leveled against Deshaun in 2021, they're not going to cut him now, especially when, again, they're on the hook for more guaranteed money. And they believe somehow they're holding out hope that this could be the year for Deshaun. This could be his comeback player of the year award. Oy. I think Shador is a better option. I don't know that you cut Deshaun at this point. Again, the Browns were willing to go through all of the PR backlash, the criticism when they signed him in and gave him that contract in 21. So they're not going to make a different decision based on their morals and values now. And speaking of that, it's pretty clear that the fans have not forgotten. So actually, producer Zach, I'm going to pivot. I'm going to go back to that first Deshaun cut just so we can kind of put them together here. Deshaun over the weekend gets booed in his own stadium.
Give me just 1 second.
Yeah, take your time. He gets booed in his own stadium. And as he's coming out there to start the game for the Cleveland, actually, Shador Sanders started. We saw Deshaun Watson come in later, but Deshaun gets on the field and the fans there at the dog pound, they boo him. And I understand. I do understand why. I think there's a confluence of emotions here. It's not just about the fact that many of them don't think he's a good dude. I would say it's far more about the fact that the Browns are tired of losing. That Browns fan base is so sick and tired and exhausted of being the gum on the bottom of the NFL shoe, about having quarterback competitions and quarterback changes every single year, about getting used to a new coach year after year. Now, with a nod to Kevin Stefanski, who lasted there quite a while, very impressive. He did bring some stability to that position, but now it's Todd Monken, and here they are again at the basement of the AFC North. Myles Garrett, the one reason that you wanted to show up and watch the Browns, one of the best players in the NFL, he's gone. He's been traded. It's a young roster, and still they're stuck in QB purgatory. So I get it. I understand why Browns fans are just tired of the same old, same old. And are you kidding me? This dude's barely been on the field. Why are you throwing him out there again? We know what he is. We know what he's not. He's not a winning quarterback in the NFL. Let's do something different. So we get back to Saturday now, and Deshaun Watson is standing in front of a microphone, and he's asked about the boos from the fans in his own stadium.
Man, I didn't have no reaction. I think the biggest thing is, I think you guys know too, and I think the whole world knows, it has nothing to do about the performance. It's a little bit personal than that. So I think it's a disrespectful thing. Yeah, I mean, I'm going to keep whatever I feel with me and my family internally on how I feel about that. And yeah, just move on.
But don't you think, Deshaun, that winning and playing better would eliminate some of that booing?
Last time I played on this field, I tore my Achilles. And that same fan base, they cheered when I got hurt. So does that have to do with, what does that have to do with anything about performance? When a person get hurt, especially for your own city, and they cheer.
Does any of that make you regret coming here?
No, I don't regret anything in my life. You know, I think the Lord put me through situations for a reason, so I don't regret anything at all. But you know, I had different thoughts on how it was going to be, but you know, it is what it is. You know, sometimes, you know, the tables turn, and I'm patient enough because I'm a child of God to, you know, wait for that time to change. So I'm not tripping on it.
Okay. If you know anything about me, you know that I absolutely am a child of God, a daughter of the King, and I believe that God can change lives. So I don't know where Deshaun Watson is now in his personal life. It's clear he has a wedding ring on. He talks about his family, and there are ways that I can see through to agree with him. Okay, so I think it's disrespectful for a fan base to boo one of their own. I'm not generally a fan of booing anyway. I don't do it. Not at officials, not at opposing fans, definitely not at the players that I've paid money to see. So I'm not a person who boos. And I do think it's disrespectful when a dude trots on the field and he's wearing the uniform of your favorite team to boo. So I agree with him there. And I don't know about who he is now as a person, but I know that you cannot ignore what's happened in your past, and to believe that somehow the Cleveland Browns fans are so ignorant that they haven't seen how bad it's been when you have started at quarterback is just crazy to me. they have the right to boo if they hate the fact that the Browns paid you all that money and you barely been on the field. They've got the right to boo the fact that over your time as an NFL quarterback in Cleveland, you've very rarely shown signs of the dude you were when you were a Pro Bowler in Houston. They're tired of losing. They are tired of the same old storylines year after year after year. And honestly, Deshaun, they're tired of you. So yes, they are booing because of performance. I guarantee you that if you go out there and you lead them to 5-6 straight wins out of the gate, and that would be tough because their schedule is a bear, but you lead them to a bunch of wins out of the gate, the boos will probably die down. Now, will they ever accept you as one of their own? I don't think so. There's too much water under that bridge. And Lord, they have paid too much money, that Browns franchise, to get very little in return. But if you can show them that you still have some gasoline left in the tank and you can go out there and be a strong leader and you can show some of the skills on offense that led Todd Monken to pick you for this job, if you can use the experience and the wisdom that you've had and maybe what you've learned over 2 more years of watching the game of football instead of playing the game of football, if those wins come, the Cleveland Browns fans may begrudgingly applaud you. Maybe they're just applauding the team and they're applauding wins, but you won't be hearing the booing anymore. But to act like you have zero regrets, to act like you wouldn't do anything differently, to act like all is so sunshine and roses and pink and perfect in your world is so incredibly tone deaf. Those fans are some of the smartest fans, and I would say some of the most exhausted fans in the NFL. And they're allowed to have an opinion. And honestly, better that they boo you in the preseason than they do boo you in the regular season. As for Deshaun, he then was asked when he stood in front of the microphone being named QB1, he was asked about Saturday and his reaction and trying to put his best foot forward now.
First off, I want to address the comments from Saturday after the game. I think just human nature, just myself being very emotional, putting a lot of time these last 2 years to, get back and, spend time in this facility, in the city, meeting a lot of different people in the community. I thought I was going to get, a little different response, but, I think, my emotions got the best of me. And, my comments wasn't intending to go at any of the fans around in the city. Because there's been a lot of great fans that have been supporting me. And I know the frustration this organization have put, a lot of investment in coming, to get me back in 22. And things haven't been going the right direction that we thought it was. A lot of injuries, a lot of time off, and not putting the best football and my foot forward. So, again, just, I understand the frustration. I understand everything that kind of goes into that. And moving forward, I just want to focus on football, making sure that, I'm putting the best product out there, having the best ability, because I thrive off the energy. I thrive off the energy of the fans. I thrive off the energy of the community. I thrive off all that stuff. I think looking back in my history at Clemson and, previous at the Houston organization, I was a big community guy, big city guy, big fan guy, during the game. So, again, my emotions got the best of me. I'm human. I take full responsibility of that, and just moving forward, I want to make sure that I put the best product for the team, for the organization, and for this city, so we can put a lot of wins and make sure that I celebrate and put Cleveland on the map. And that's why I put the helmet on my head and I put the uniform on my body, is to go out there and make sure I put my best foot forward.
If he had responded like that on Saturday, he might not hear any more of the booing from the Cleveland fans. That Deshaun Watson and that candor, that honesty about my emotions getting the best of me and wanting so badly to lead Cleveland to a winning season, to make the Browns an organization that is a force to be reckoned with. That Deshaun Watson, whether or not you believe he's genuine, that's certainly your prerogative. But that version of Deshaun Watson, the one that seems contrite, the one that doesn't tell you he has no regrets. What? the one that doesn't stand up there and act like the Browns have zero reason to be disappointed with his performance. That Deshaun Watson just makes it worse. This Deshaun Watson, for some people who are open to it, might convince them that he's changed a lot over the last couple of years, that it's been just as hard for him to go through these injuries and to be away from football, be away from the game he loves, or maybe that the time away and all of the injuries, which he did mention, has given him time to think and reflect and understand that these fans deserve better. And yeah, it is about performance when your team is constantly losing or when you're not available and they're still paying you. I'm not telling you that I think he's the answer for them. I do hope for Cleveland's sake, and I mean for the fan base, that they can have one quarterback the entire season. I don't think this is the year. I think we will see Shedeur Sanders. That's probably a smart move for them moving forward. I don't wish that Deshaun Watson would get hurt. I do think that the relationship with fans can be at least partially repaired. Meet me in the middle, so to speak. I'll go out there and I'll work my fanny off for the guys in my locker room, as well as for those of you who buy tickets and pay money through the nose to buy tickets for a crappy product a lot of the past few years. For those of you who are coming to see us play, I'm going to give you everything I've got. I think fans can get behind that. What will they ever forget? Hell no. Cleveland sports fans don't forget anything. But at least you can get to the point where you have a relationship that might be beneficial to both of you, a symbiotic relationship, if you will, and the booing will die down. Wins and winning cures a lot of ills. So Deshaun Watson, that should be your focus. At A-Law Radio to find me on X or Twix, and then different social media avenues that we're trying to build up. So please find us and communicate with us. So glad to have you with us here on this Monday edition of the show. Man, it has been quite the weekend with all of the news. And as much as I thought we might talk about baseball and get into some of the headlines from the Diamond, we're barely really scratching the surface. The Browns news kind of hijacked the show, but also this situation in Louisiana where you've got a player who's waiting to clear waivers in the NFL, but coincidentally being cut from the Cleveland Browns over the weekend, and now already has a deal in place to go back to college. What? That's insane. But that's the beauty of sports, is there is never a dull moment. And when it comes to football, it's the best reality show on TV. It's All In with Amy Lawrence on YouTube and the Rogue Media Network.
Lake Waco Golf Club is a semi-private facility nestled along the north point of Lake Waco, one of the few facilities in Texas to have a full 18-hole regulation golf course as well as an executive 18-hole par 3 golf course. Plus, check out their bar and grill, which is open to the public. And if you're not a golfer, then enjoy time by the pool or even enjoy fishing around Lake Waco. Become a member today and call to book your tee time. Lake Waco Golf Club, where family and friends fun begins. Check them out at lakewacogc.com for more information.
Summer isn't over yet. Make every last splash count at Waco Surf. Catch perfect waves, float the lazy river, or relax on the beach while the kids make unforgettable memories. Stay in their hotel or private cabin, or hook up with your RV. Located just 90 miles from Dallas and Austin, set on 450 acres in the heart of Texas, Waco Surf is unlike any other water park around. Before school starts, give your family one more epic adventure. WacoSurf.com. Book your stay today and catch a wave.
It's the premier charity event of the year, the 2026 Central Texas Cattle Barons Ball, presented by Ascension Provident. A fun evening filled with great food and drink, dancing, a spectacular auction, and more. This year's theme is Nashville Nights, Neon Lights, and Bullfights. Get your tickets now, donate, or be a sponsor. Help support the American Cancer Society to find a cure. The 2026 Central Texas Cattle Barons Ball, October 24th at MCC Highlander Ranch. For more information, go to centraltexascattlebaronsball.org.
Enjoy a quiet atmosphere with beautiful river views at the Brazos Landing, located in Waco along the Brazos River across from McLean Stadium. Enjoy homemade dishes like shrimp and grits, chicken piccata, braised short ribs, prime New York steaks, and more. Plus, enjoy a delicious dessert like creme brulee or key lime pie. Open for lunch and dinner Tuesday through Sunday. Brazos Landing in Waco, the only place where I-35 and the Brazos River meet.
For 75 years, Nalgene Outdoor has been your trusted companion, fueling adventures and helping protect the planet. We're committed to reducing waste, improving access to clean water, and providing simple, safe, and sustainable products for you and your family. No gimmicks, just durable, well-designed bottles built to last. Join us on our mission to amplify life, not complicate it. Because at Nalgene, what goes into our bottles matters as much as the adventures they fuel. Explore more at nalgene.com. That's NALGENE.com.
When you learn a language with Babbel, you start a journey that takes you further and further. Anytime and anywhere you wish. It's easy and fun. Broadens your horizons and keeps your brain fit. A journey into new thoughts, new cultures, new adventures. So what are you waiting for? Start your journey with Babbel now. Go to babbel.com or download the app.
Goodness, it's been such a busy morning, and I try to tell you that the NFL is this bully. They're really a behemoth, so they get jealous when you pay too much attention to any other sport. And this time of the year, they really do start to crowd out other sports. And with the news that it really is cycling through every single day now, we've got one quarterback decision, at least for the starter for the time being. That's Deshaun Watson in Cleveland. But we also now know that Clint Kubiak of the Raiders will not decide on his starting quarterback until they get through the third preseason game. So he's going to wait another week. So that's still up in the air, though many people do believe that Kirk Cousins will get the nod and they'll wait on Fernando Mendoza. Raiders side note too. Now this is really good news. We could probably use this as a find your feels, but I'll do it quickly. The Raiders practice was disrupted on Sunday when their star running back going into his second season now, Ashton Genty, got hurt. If I understand correctly, it was a non-contact. He went down to the ground, and of course, instantly the thoughts of all of the players, his teammates, the coaches, they drift to the extreme, which is, oh crap, a season-ending knee injury potentially. Well, they all took a knee. They were praying for him at practice. I'm going to say their prayer worked. And we don't get to share a lot of these stories because very often when it is a non-contact injury and a player crumples to the ground, it has to be helped off the field. So he could not put any weight on that leg, that right leg. He actually ended up suffering a sprained ankle. So, whoa! Often it is the worst of the worst news, but for Ashton Genty, now they're not sure if he'll be on the field for week number 1 because it's coming up quickly. And if it's a high ankle sprain, sometimes it can take longer. But how great is that they're not going to lose their second-year running back who amassed, 1,300 yards and 10 touchdowns for the Raiders last year? And if you know Clint Kubiak, or you know the Kubiak family, actually, and I do as someone who started rooting for the Denver Broncos when I was 13 years old, it's the Shanahan-Kubiak system. Gary Kubiak was a quarterback behind John Elway for years when I was cutting my teeth on the NFL and rooting for the Broncos as a kid. And so that system is predicated on having a solid, versatile, and extremely prolific running back. So we're talking about a Terrell Davis, who's a Hall of Famer, right? That's one of the major reasons that John Elway ended his career on back-to-back Super Bowl wins, is because Kyle Shanahan finally had a superstar in Terrell Davis at running back. And so the Kubiak tree, the Kubiak coaching perspective and philosophy is predicated on having a really solid running back who is your bell cow. That's Ashton Genty in the Clint Kubiak system. Not to mention, even though Kirk Cousins is a veteran, they want to throw Fernando Mendoza in there at some point. And to help your young running back, your young quarterback, you need a running back who can take some of the pressure off. So I'm really happy to pass along that Ashton Genty did sprain an ankle, but they don't think it's season ending. They believe at some point he'll be ready to go. So that's awesome. I did see a post from one of our fans and by fans, I mean sports fans in the Bay Area, that George Kittle has been cleared. So he's been rehabbing his Achilles injury and coming back. And he's actually off the PUP list now and cleared to resume football activities. Christian McCaffrey is back at practice. So those are all positive notes from the injury world, and it can be so devastating at times. Like if you're a Seahawks fan, the rookie safety Bud Clark, who was supposed to factor into their defense in trying to protect that Super Bowl championship, that defense was so good last year, but they brought in some pieces. They feel like their secondaries in a little bit of a transition. Remember we talked about Trayvon Diggs joining them last week and how they are wanting to sign Terrion Arnold, even if he's not available right away. Well, their rookie safety, Bud Clark, actually broke his ankle on Sunday. I think it was the first defensive snap for the Seahawks in their game against the Titans. And so he's out for, according to Mike McDonald, multiple months. So it's definitely a situation where a lot of the injury news can be super painful. And so when you get some good news like this, where Ashton Genty's not gone for the year, or George Kittle and Christian McCaffrey are back, or in the case of Patrick Mahomes, I know Elmer listens to our show live and watches the show live, and he's a huge Chiefs fan. So thank you, Elmer, for weighing in. It's great to know that Patrick Mahomes is ready to go and is on the football field and is back at the quarterback position after tearing his ACL and the knee injury that he had. So I love it when we can pass along positive news. But yeah, there's still many more position battles to be decided. And of course, there are the major cuts that come now after the third preseason game. By the way, while we're speaking about injury news, Michael Penix, who was the quarterback that the Falcons drafted right after they signed Kirk Cousins, he ended up taking that job over as a rookie. He's coming off of another serious knee injury, and he's dealt with a few of these going back to his college days. But he is now cleared for 11-on-11 activities. So he's cleared for football activities, which means that there is a quarterback competition with Tua Tagovailoa there under Kevin Stefanski in his first year. The question now is, and I asked this of Rand Carthon, the former Titans GM that I worked with on Sirius XM NFL radio this morning, is it enough time to see if Michael Penix can be your starting quarterback and be comfortable in this new system when he's only going to have this week of practice, and that's if he's up to speed, this week of practice, another preseason game, and then, a couple of practices or like your game week leading into week number 1. There's not a whole lot of time left. There aren't going to be a ton of practices, and he's also splitting snaps. So while the competition may be going on right now, you wonder, would Stefanski trust Michael Penix to throw him out there without participating in the offseason and OTAs, but also without having a full training camp and preseason? But maybe as they start the season, even then, you'll see that quarterback competition continue. But we don't know. We haven't heard definitively from Kevin Stefanski yet. I do know that Tua's really struggled this preseason, and he's been frustrated with himself. And so you wonder whether or not Stefanski will keep his options open moving forward. But he's in a new place too, so there's a lot of change there for the Atlanta Falcons. Thanks for hanging out with us. Even as we head up toward the top of the hour, I feel like back to school is taking on a whole new meaning this weekend when it comes to football. The story that's right now the rage, all the rage. You're going to see it everywhere. Sports talk. You're going to see it on social media, people reacting to it because it's new, it's unprecedented, it's really a situation that could have ripple effects, and we have no idea how it's going to play out, which is kind of the scary part, is because we know there will be fallout. We know there will be other dominoes that drop, but we don't know which way they're going to fall. So here's the story and the setup. Daquan Wright, who I'm not really sure what to say. He is a player who spent, I'm trying to be very careful so I get the right tenses. He just spent the last several weeks on both the Eagles and Browns rosters. Okay, so didn't make the 53 man. We're not there yet. And maybe he wouldn't have made a roster. He was in camp with the Eagles, undrafted free agent signing, in camp with the Eagles. He ends up getting released and the Browns pick him up. So he spent the last couple weeks, he's been through a bunch of practices with the Cleveland Browns, and he ends up getting waived. Okay, so they don't wait till cut down day. They end up waiving him. But this tight end, Daquan Wright, because he has been suing the NCAA to try to get an extra year of eligibility based on some new laws and some new regulations, really, for college athletes, he didn't get grandfathered in. He played his 4 years of eligibility. Now the rules are changing, which grant college athletes 5 years and 5 years to log up to 5 years playing sports. Okay, so if you miss a year, fine, but the rules are changing so that it's 5 and 5. You have 5 years. If you want to play for all 5 years, great, but you have 5 years and then your eligibility is done, and they're contiguous years. Okay, so he's already played 4 years, but when he and a handful of other athletes filed a lawsuit in Louisiana, they were granted a temporary restraining order, meaning these new regulations that would keep him from collecting on the 5th year of eligibility, they've been halted. Okay, so the judge in Baton Rouge, which is the home of LSU, that judge in Baton Rouge has temporarily halted this ruling or this other court order that would not allow he and a handful of other athletes to have their 5th year of eligibility. Again, they weren't grandfathered in. The rule isn't changing until next season, or that it's not being implemented until next season. And so he sued. They're able to get, at least to this point, an injunction. So another court will say, wait a minute, let's go back and look at this. But for now, he should be able to move forward and proceed. So he jumped into the transfer portal last week as it appeared that this was happening. He gets waived by the Browns because he has a pre-existing relationship with Lane Kiffin, because he played with Lane Kiffin during some of his time in college. So Kiffin obviously has taken over now for LSU, but he was at Ole Miss in 24 and 25, and that's where Wright played. So he was a tight end who was part of that Lane Kiffin offensive system there at Ole Miss, and so he, no doubt, had been recruited, petitioned, hey, come play with us here at LSU. If you don't end up on that roster, well, we've got another year of eligibility and a roster spot for you here in Baton Rouge. So that's where we are right now. And honestly, I wish I could tell you what this means for college football, for the NFL, but I honestly have no idea. Is this an isolated incident, or it's a couple of athletes who are going to be able to leave the NFL after spending training camp or preseason with a team? He didn't actually get into any of the preseason games so far with Eagles or Browns, but he did suit up and he was practicing with the Browns. And so he's had some, I guess you could say, some taste of the NFL, a little bit of NFL training camp experience. But now he's going to turn around and head back to college if he clears waivers. So that's the next hurdle. Does this mean we're going to see a mass exodus of guys who are trying to hook on with NFL teams? It didn't work out. So if they have eligibility left, they're going to petition to be able to use that year of eligibility and head back to college. There's money in it, though. If Daquan Wright has been promised money from Lane Kiffin, or if there is a booster or a corporate partner who's willing to say, hey, we'll endorse you, your name, your image, your likeness, we'll give you this money. And I'm just going to throw a dollar figure out there. Come back to LSU, or come to LSU, and we will make sure you get $1 million in your bank account. Pre-taxes, of course, but we'll sign you to an endorsement deal for your name, image, and likeness, and we'll make it worth your while to give up on your NFL dreams for now and return to college. So that's one factor And I could see where that would be attractive to athletes who maybe aren't sure they're going to make an NFL roster. But I do know this about the NFL: they regulate everything, which means that they won't let the wild, wild west atmosphere of college football or college sports permeate their system for long. They'll at some point, if this becomes a pattern, and I actually don't know that it will, because again, the rule is changing. So it would take a bunch more athletes coming out and saying, hey, I want to go back to college too. The thing is, a very small minority, a small percentage of college athletes ever go on to the pros. So there's a select number of guys and gals that this would actually matter to. So I don't think it's going to become a pattern because the rule is changing next season. But the NFL would step in and say, nah, this needs to work for us. Because it's always about the NFL. This needs to work for us. And so if we have to regulate it, we will. But maybe it's about, hey, if you're drafted, it's too late. You're not going back. Or if you think you're going to use your 5th year of eligibility, well, you're not also eligible for the draft. You can't have 1 foot in the NFL and 1 foot in college football, is kind of what I feel like the NFL would do at some point, draw that line of demarcation and say, you got to choose. But at this point, it's more isolated. It's weird because I don't know what happens. But yeah, good for Daquan, where he's got options and he got a taste of NFL training camp and can maybe take that back with him to LSU. But this one point that I'll pass along, which I think was very perceptive, and it comes from the brain of a guy who worked in a front office. So Rand Carthon was my partner on SiriusXM NFL radio this morning, and I asked him his reaction. And he said, here's what I don't want. I don't want to be worried about athletes who are in my training camp who are going through, say, rookie OTAs, and they're trying to earn a spot on the squad. But instead of studying their playbook, instead of being out on the practice field when we're done and you're working or you're in the weight room, they're being petitioned by agents, or they're being recruited, or their agents are trying to find them other gigs. They're being recruited by coaches. Hey, I don't know my playbook because I've got too many coaches who I'm talking to, and they're trying to convince me to come back to college. So he didn't like that gray area where an NFL team might not have the full ear and the full attention of a guy who's in training camp. And that's what I mean. The NFL would regulate this if it becomes a common pattern. My thanks to you. Before we break, though, I saw this really cool comment on our live chat. David, you made my day. He says, I used to sleep in till noon. Thanks. You get me up early. 7:30 a.m. I watch your show in Modesto, California. So thank you, David. He's been very complimentary, loves the show. But if we can get you up early, you can start your day early, have some coffee, have some breakfast with us in Modesto. Well, that's really neat. We are back at our regular time coming up on Tuesday. For me, it's 10 a.m. That's Central Time. For those of you on the East Coast, it's 11 a.m. Thanks for being patient. Good to jumpstart a new work week. I'll always talk to you soon here on YouTube and the Rogue Media Network.